Greetings, everyone. It is the Tonic Man. Hello once again. Welcome to everybody. I know there are always many new folks on the call, and what we have as an introduction is very important. If you re listen to this call when we email it, dwell on that message. We talked about a few things, but we talked about very important things. How, number one, it is a dietary supplement. It cures nothing, but you will discover as we speak and as you hear folks who are guests on these calls that it's much deeper than that. This is not something for your liver that's not working, or your high blood sugar, or your joint that's out of joint. This is something that, get this, my father began working on this in 1922, and he finally began to commercialize it in 1943. And he started to commercialize it in 1943 because he couldn't afford to give it away anymore. He was making these little batches and giving it to folks. Everyone was spreading the word that they were getting well from a myriad of different health issues. And so he formed a company in 1945. So what you are drinking today, and you folks who have not had the good fortune to drink it yet, what you will be drinking is something that has been around now, commercially available for 80 plus years. I don't know any products in America that have been around for 80 plus years, except maybe Kraft cheese. I remember the TV commercial of old Mr. Kraft in his covered wagon going around selling cheese. Well, that's about the way it was with my father, but he actually had a really rip-roaring business that developed in the 40s and 50s, and it was because this product flat out works. You can read all about it on the website. There is so much to know and learn there. And of course, our podcasts every month, and we've been doing them for over 20 years, will relate a lot of great stuff, anecdotal things. Yeah, that was my father that developed that. And I'm carrying it on, and the same thing is happening as happened in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. Everybody who drinks this elixir gets positive benefits to some degree or another. But look, if you're suffering from a whole lot of problems, even if your problems improve 10 or 20%, you feel like a new person. Imagine if it's 50% or 100 and you don't have the issues anymore. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of people who have reported that. They drink JC Tonic, the youth solution, and all of a sudden, time moves backwards. People get younger. And I know this for a fact because I actually gave it to people in the 1960s who, after 10 years of drinking it, looked 10 years younger than the people that refused to drink it because they thought I was a nut. Well, it sounds nutty, doesn't it? How is it possible that one product can basically do it all? Well, that also is another long story, but basically my father figured out how to clean up the blood supply, and that's what this does. When that better, cleaner blood with less grease or no grease and less cholesterol or no cholesterol or less of all the things that prevent the blood from doing a good job like it used to do when you were 10 or 20 or even 30 years old, then the blood will do the same thing again. Simply put, it's all in the blood. You want to know more about that? There is a little booklet that is available at home office. It's called What It Is, What It Does. My dad wrote that, I think, probably in 1945, thereabouts. We didn't change anything in the booklet except some regulatory things that have changed over the years. But basically, the story and what he wrote is the way it is. And he talks about, you got it, the blood. And when that blood is cleaned up, it ends up doing a better job. I like to liken it to when you bring your car in for a tune-up. because after you tune it up, it feels almost like a new car. Well, the same thing will happen with your body. Those of you who have experienced it, and we have thousands of people who have had that experience, know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you who do not know yet or who don't understand how the blood is really the staff of life, that if you have good, healthy, clean blood, you should have a good, healthy, clean body. And if you don't have a good, healthy, clean body, it's because the blood has not been able to deliver something or it has not been able to remove something. It's something to do with the blood. So clean the blood and you clean the body. That brings me to the most important thing, time. Everything is about time. A few weeks ago, we were celebrating New Year's Eve and Valentine's Day. Next month, it's going to be St. Patrick's Day, and time flies by, folks, and it drags you along with it. We are all getting old, whether we want to admit it or not. We have people in this world who spend all their money or whatever money they have to try and find how to stay young. The youth solution. Well, 400 or 500 years ago, Ponce de Leon landed in Florida looking for the fountain of youth. And I don't know, maybe my father found it. Because this has been doing this time reverse, age reverse for 80 years. Every single person who drinks this on a regular basis not only feels younger, they look younger, the skin is younger, they have less doctor's appointments or none. They don't get colds anymore or very few. Or if they get them, they're very mild. Everything that a younger person will experience, but not the older folks. Look, I'm 86 now, but I've been drinking this for 75 years or so. So it's not fair. I'm a little ahead of everybody. But you know what? You can catch up or you can start again. And that brings me to our guest tonight. In particular, one guest, Carson, who was a JC Tonic user over 25 years ago. I'm going to let him tell his story. And we've brought on also a guest, Ruthie, who you've heard previously, or some of you have. She is 84, looks 24. Well, no, not 24. But boy, oh boy, let me tell you, this is an example of somebody who's been drinking the tonic nonstop. Even when she got to feeling better and looking better, she decided in her mind that this must be what's doing it, and she's just going to continue it. Look, I did that, and I speak to people who have been doing it for 30 and 40 years. They have their auto ship 4 bottles every single month that comes in automatically. Their family are on it. They share a few bottles here and there. They share enough bottles, most of them, that they never have to pay for their own. Wow, what a deal that is. And you can all do the same thing. There is no shortage of people who need this because everybody in this country is sick, or 85 or 90%. And other parts of the world, if they're not already, it's coming along fast. So there's no shortage of people to speak to get a few bottles out there and never pay for your own again. And that's what these folks are going to tell you about. And I think best of all would be bring them on in and just let them tell their stories. I'd like to start with Carson because he is the fellow that's going to tell you what to do and what not to do and then what to do again. Carson, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Carson, just take it away.
Okay. I just want to say that in my early 50s, I started using JC Tonic. Back then, I had stomach problems, and after a while, I never even knew I had a stomach left. I mean, it was just all my problems had run away. I got to the point after taking it for, I don't know, maybe 9-10 years, I felt fantastic. And in my 60s, I had to go to the hospital for a problem that I had with my hand. And they were in there and they did an ultrasound. And when the guy was doing the ultrasound, he was saying something about my liver and over a few times. And I'm laying there thinking, oh my gosh, what's going on? And he kept saying, and what it was in fantastic shape. You couldn't believe it. And he even mentioned something, you must have never smoked or drink in your life. And I said, well, I've had my share of beer. And he said, well, your body must have processed it good. But what it was is the JC Tonic had my liver cleaned up, and I was in good shape. Another thing that happened to me, I was on a motorcycle ride one day, and we stopped by a friend's house, and they had a German Shepherd dog, and we were by the chain link fence, and the dog come up jumping up, and I put my hand over to pet the dog, and his toenail dragged on my arm and cut my arm open, and the blood to come out was just bright red, almost like a fluorescent look. So, but anyways, at some point around when I was in my mid-60s or whatever, I got away from the tonic.
Carson, before you go on, when you talked about the blood, I just want folks to understand, most folks, when you either go for a blood workup or give blood, your blood will probably tend to be maroonish, dark maroon, some of it even close to black, some even maybe black. So if your blood is fluorescent red, fire engine red, let me tell you, that is healthy blood. So that's where you want to try and get your blood. And I just wanted to mention that because when Carson saw the blood that color, he knew very well that he had good, healthy blood. And that, of course, is what we're talking about, the blood. So, Carson, go on, please. I just wanted to make sure a lot of folks don't even know. They look at their blood and they think that's the way it's supposed to be. Well, maybe it is if it's bright red. If it's pretty black, it's not the way it's supposed to be.
Mine was never that way until, like I say, I had taken the tonic, and when that dog had scratched me and got me bleeding, I just went and looked, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. So anyways, as time went on, I got away from the tonic. I was feeling good, and I guess, after you're fixed and everything, you're kind of okay. So I just kind of set it aside. And when I got in my 70s, I started having some trouble. Like I said, I had to go to the doctor for a problem with my hand, and they did the ultrasound, and they couldn't believe my liver, the condition my liver was in. So anyways, time go on, another 7 or 8 years, and it ended up I had a heart attack, and they had to put a stent in me. So then that's where I was, and I happened to be on Facebook one night and saw Jeannie Powers' name on there. And she's a lady that I knew when I was taking the tonic prior. And I had talked to her back and forth through Facebook, and she was still doing good and everything. And I go, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I got tonic in my room back there in the bottom drawer. So I come in and got a bottle. And I called home office because these bottles are like 13 years old. That's how long it's been that I had stopped taking it, 13 years. So I called home office, even though I heard prior that, it never goes bad, but I wanted to double check. And they told me it was fine. And that day I started taking it. And that day I could actually feel that when I first started taking it, I could just kind of feel it in my arms and in my body a little bit. So anyway, I kept going. And after a little while, I started noticing that I'm sleeping better, and I have more energy, and I was more calm, and I do a lot of lifting during the daytime, and this and that, and I always have sore arms, sore legs, and that type thing, to the point sometimes where I'm in the bed at night, I want to roll over to the side, but my arms are aching and going over to the other side and trying to get comfortable, and it wasn't... within a week and a half period, that just stopped. I don't have that anymore. And then from there, my legs, I do a lot of climbing up and down ladders to get in and out of boats and stuff. And sometimes if I'll sit for a while watching a movie or something and I'll go to get up, my legs don't want to get going. And I even have to hold on the side of the chair for a minute and stand up and stand there for a second to get going. And that seems like it's gone away. Now lately, the last so many days, I just get up and go. So I'm glad I'm back on the JC Tonic. It's helped me tremendously before, and it is now. Another thing I've noticed is I do a lot of looking up part numbers and that type of stuff. And I was telling Anthony the other day, I would look these part numbers up, and then I have to go, and type them into the computer to make the order, because I order through the computer. And I would forget the number. To the point I would go over to the catalog and I would take a picture of it and sit there with my phone so I could read the number to make sure that it gets in there right. And the last few days, I just remember them. So that I've noticed. And my skin is better, and I have ringing in my ears. And actually was getting to the point it's getting kind of pretty loud. And, of course, you can't hear as well when that's going on. And the last day or so, I started noticing that's diminishing. It's still ringing, but nowhere near as loud as it was. And I also have a 14-year-old Shih Tzu dog, and I take him for walks. The last time I took him out, I usually go into like a Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever they let you walk around there with your dog. I literally had to pick him up and carry him out. We were going down the aisle and he just was going real slow and stopped, like he just didn't want to go no more. So I picked him up and carried him out, and that was the last time I took him out for a walk. And once I got back on the tonic, I said, I'm going to start putting that in my dog. And I started giving it to him. And I can't believe the difference in his eyes gleam better. And now when I let him out to go to the bathroom, he used to just kind of nonchalantly just walk back in, real slow like an old man. And now he kind of does his little trot thing, perk, 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 perk. So I can see that it's perking him up. And that's like dynamite. That is dynamite for me. I've had that dog 14 years.
So two old dogs, your dog and you, two old dogs.
Back up walking again. There we go.
Carson, wow, those things turned around in, what, a week you've been drinking it?
With 2 weeks. I think it's been about 2 weeks I've been taking it, yeah. And I first was taking these old bottles here, these 13-year-old bottles, and that's what I was taking. And just Friday, I got the other bottles in from home office. And Friday, Saturday, and today, I've had the new stuff.
But you've been drinking it now for, a total 2 weeks or a week?
I think about 2 weeks, maybe a little longer. Yeah, that I've been.
And you started with an ounce and then went to 2 ounces, or what did you do?
I started pretty much with an ounce the first day, and then I got up to like 2 ounces, and now I'm doing 2 or 3 ounces a day. Yes.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Just fantastic.
And like I was saying, the taste, I mix it with water, about 4 or 6 ounces of water in a water bottle. I just pour it in there and drink it down. And the taste between the old bottles and the new bottles, I can't really tell a difference in it very much. But my wife does. She says the new stuff tastes better. So.
Wow. Well, that's good news for the new listeners on the call, because, folks, we have to tell you, sometimes you're going to get a batch that's really rough to take. You have to mix it with something. But it doesn't matter. Whatever it tastes like, it's not the important thing. The important thing is, as you heard, this stuff flat out works. Wow, Carson, that is fantastic. And now, of course, Carson is mad at himself for having stopped. But I was mentioning that when I first began speaking tonight, that we have tons of people that do that. And what do you think happens? The same thing that happens with Carson, because doesn't matter who or what you are, folks. The bodies are getting old every day. They're being stressed. They're being tugged and pushed and pulled. And we're not eating the greatest food often. And so it doesn't matter. The body keeps getting older anyway for all of us. What we want to do is whose body can grow old more slowly and even age reverse. And that's what Carson has told you tonight. He basically is feeling younger. Even though his body is older, it's starting to get younger because it's starting to repair itself. And that's the key. Ruthie, are you there? Jump on in, because he's going to tell you about never stopping a day in her life.
Yes, I am, Anthony. I am here.
Tell the folks about the mistake that you did not make.
Oh, all right. I will. And I want to update you. Can I just kind of I know you know from the beginning. And can I just back up from when David passed away 3 years ago, that how my life has changed?
Sure. Go, whatever. Yeah, great.
Okay, because I know they heard about the permanent, all of that. And the mistake I did not make, and I will not make, is ever getting off the tonic. Because it's my life. It saves my life, period. And I was married. A lot of people don't know. I was married 65 years. And my husband told me, he said, listen, baby, you've been a good wife. You're a beautiful wife. You worked very hard. He said, and listen, I want you to live your life. He said, live a good life. You took good care of me. And he was on the tonic for about 20 or 20-some years also, which the doctor gave him, like 15 years before he died, and he was looking good when he died. He said, but I want you to live your life. He said, you've been a beautiful wife. And he said, but listen, he says, I want you to find you a young man. And I said, no, now, you want me to go to jail. He said, no, baby. He said, look, honey, he said, you're beautiful. He said, and you have all this energy. And he said, and you're fine. He said, you'll give a young man a run for his money. So, Anthony, you never heard this story before, but it's all a true story. And another thing with the tonic, mentally, it keeps you so sharp. I even sung at his funeral. And a lot of people just get depressed and everything else. I have never been able to get depressed over him dying because he knew and I knew, we got to go anyway. So that's the way we, accept God taking one another home. So I even sung at his funeral because he liked it for me to sing. And my kids said, Mama, you can't do that. I put him away. I sung his song, the one I wanted him to go away with. But after that, I decided, okay, I'm healthy. I have a lot of energy. Not bragging, but hey, y'all, I'm smart. No dementia at 84. And I moved into this new village. Love it. When you move in as a grandparent, I know the village had to check me out. Look at what I could do. When I first came in, they told us what we had to do and what we could do. And I was always doing stuff because I'm very active and I educate myself and love to do things. And I got the Spotlight Award. I went, wow, why am I getting the Spotlight Award? And I had them laughing. I said, no wonder I got the Spotlight Award. No one else was in the light but me. So I got the Spotlight Award and 110 children here. So we as grandparents have to make sure that we adopt a family or make sure we help in the village. And I'm out working and I have more energy than all of them put together. I think I'm the only healthy person in the village, from the children to the adults, and I have more energy than anyone. And pain-free, still pain-free. 84, my doctor said I'm in a 50-year-old body. I have this good energy. I didn't get a young man, God knows, but God blessed me with a real sweet young man. He is a baby boomer, but he says I'm and I add his words, ladies and gentlemen, live your life. And I went on a field trip to Tallahassee. We had 15 children, and I was the only one wasn't getting tired. And we left at 4 o'clock in the morning. We got back at 9 o'clock at night. And the kids were saying, Miss Ruthie, you're not tired? I said, no, I'm not, baby. He said, well, I'm giving out. And so even the grown-ups, I had the energy to flow through the day. I took a little bottle of tonic, put some water in tonic and cave. I know we've been going a long time. And even here, if one nothing to think that it's going to run or drip, I run to the tonic bottle and the other one says, okay, you better not drip because Ruthie's going to put tonic in you. So I haven't had a cold. I'm still healthy. They just appointed me as the chair of the whole village. Working,
wow.
I'm loving it. Yes, as the chairperson of the whole village. And now I'm educating the children and the adults and on staff now. And I am loving
Ruthie,
it.
Wow.
Yes,
good for
I am
you.
loving it.
At 84, let me tell you, I know Ruthie, and she is no 84. She's 84 years young. But Ruthie, tell everybody how much this cost you over the years.
Oh, my God, Anthony, I don't know where I can calculate that.
Well, I guess it's hard to get to zero. You see, everybody, Ruthie and Carson spread the word to so many people that there's a little commission that's involved, and they get enough of that they don't have to pay for their own. You all can do the same thing. But the first thing to do is start drinking and get to the point where you realize that without it, you get old faster. You want to stay young. You want that energy Ruthie has. Let me tell you, Carson is not going to do the same thing he did 10 years ago or 13 years ago. He's going to stay on it now. And we're all going to go to the pine box with a big smile because we'll be in darn good shape. You know, I talk to people every day, folks, all day long on the phone. The horror stories I hear are just so terrible. I just almost cry every day with people and their health issues and what they go through and procedures and removing organs and surgery and oh my good Lord. And they can't poop and they can't sleep and they're shaking and they're nervous and oh, this is terrible, folks. That will be a thing of the past.
And then, Anthony, another thing, too. At 84, you know, people not even 84 own canes and walkers and, you know what I mean? And
that's right.
It's just a blessing to even be 84, and it's like a new life. I'm dating again because David was the only man in my life, so this is the second man in my life who is really treating me like a queen because he know he better. And you know, I've been knowing him for 40 some years, so he kind of know who he's dealing with. You know what I mean?
Good.
And I'm happy because I look younger now than I did when I first started taking the tonic.
Well, everybody, we published photos of Ruthie in one of our emails a few months ago. There was a photo of her at 59 when she started drinking the JC at the beginning, and then a photo of her at 82 or 83. And let me tell you, we had phone calls of people that said they thought we made a mistake and put before under the wrong photo. Folks, that's the difference of what Ruthie looked like and how she felt and how she is today. So, look, we can go on with this story because, as you can tell from Ruthie and Carson, it's a long story. Carson also has his better half, Sandy, who has gone through exactly the same thing. I don't know if she's there, Carson, if she wants to say a word. But if not, folks, it's the same for everybody, man, woman, and child. Make sure your children are drinking it. And you youngsters or who think you are young today, drink this and you'll stay young. You won't get old. This is truly the fountain of youth that Ponce de Leon was looking for. Well, my father found it, and we're drinking it. And folks, 80 years, it's been used by humans and animals. So make sure your four-legged friends are drinking it. And as Carson talked to you about his dog, I've seen and heard stories about people's dogs for 50 years. It's the same thing. They have blood in them. So anything with blood, your horse, your dog, your lamb, your chicken, whatever it is, anything that has blood in, this works. So Carson, wrap it up for us because as folks know, this is a great story that really can hit home if you think about it. I want to make sure they understand your important message.
Okay. Yeah, you know, Sandy's not on the phone, but she is taking this every day. She's back on it for sure. And one other thing is when I first got into JC Tonic, she saved, remember, I don't know whether you remember, Anthony, but we had a dog named JC.
Yes, I remember that. I remember.
Remember that? Yeah, well, my daughter, they had a litter of pups over there, and one of them wasn't functioning or doing anything, and my daughter called Sandy crying, and Sandy, well, the first thing she did was went over there with a bottle of tonic, and she went over there and she took her finger and dipped in the tonic and started rubbing on that dog's lips, and the next thing you know, a little tongue come out and started licking on it, and she saved that puppy. And then my daughter goes, you have to keep it, blah, blah, blah. So that's how we ended up with JC. We called it JC.
JC the dog. Yeah, I remember
JC
that.
the dog. She used to be on, when I was doing the tonic, she would be in bed. I come home and open my briefcase and she'd be laying, or she'd just jump right up in that thing and lay in that briefcase or lay on my desk. So yeah, it definitely works for animals as well.
Yeah. Ruthie and Carson, I'm so happy that you brought a lot of history back to this call. But the most important message, all folks listening to the call, is you're never too young and you're never too old to start this. It doesn't matter what your health condition is today. Carson's was going downhill 100 miles an hour. It's already in reverse. Ruthie's was downhill until she was 60. And when she discovered and started drinking the JC Tonic, it's been uphill all the way. And it's that way all along because she continued using it, so it maintained. I think in my own case at 86, I mean, I'm still doing these phone calls. I still phone and talk to people all day long to see how I can help them with their health. And I have the energy as Ruthie does. And I mean, I sleep like a log. I eat like a horse. You know, I don't eat very much junk food. I have to tell you that once in a while. But I drink my tonic on a regular basis. And I have to tell you, I absolutely know in my heart that's why I have the good vibrations of today and the youthfulness. And they tell me I look much younger. So that's always nice to hear, too. So all of you can be in the same boat. So those of you new on the call, please join us. Get more info from your upline, from the person who referred you to this call. You can call home office, 800 JC Tonic. You can call me, just call home office and leave a message that you'd like to speak with me. I call back everybody within a day or two, and I can go over your health challenges and see if I can give you some direction and be of some help. So there's plenty of help around, and everybody's ready, willing, and able to do so. So don't be shy.
Whatever you do, don't stop taking it.
Please.
There's no backing up. Yeah.
No backing up.
Keep going forward. When you get 84, you'll be pain-free and wrinkle-free.
Yeah, and you
Right.
won't have to go and sit in the doctor's office 3 times a week.
Right.
I'm 75, so I got a little bit more to go yet to catch you guys.
Yeah, you do. Well, you'll do just fine now that you're back on it. And folks, let me explain one thing that's so important. Please, don't say you can't afford it. All you need to do is share a few bottles with a few people, and your own is paid for. And everybody can do that. Why? Because everybody around you is sick. They're all looking for something. They're all unhappy. And all you have to do is let them listen to a call like this, or send them the email that we send with all the audio testimonials. And when they listen to a few of those, they'll say to themselves, look, if it worked for those folks, why not me? And that's as easy as it gets. So you don't have to be a doctor. We're not doctors. Don't try and be a doctor. Don't try and explain the herbs. Just let them listen to other people's stories. And all they need is one bottle. They'll know by the time they finish the bottle that they're on to something. This stuff is worth its weight in gold, folks. As I told Carson when home office told me he thought he maybe should throw it out. No, I said it's worth its weight in gold. Drink it. And it is. Folks, get yourself a bottle. Do yourself a favor. Help your family and start helping your neighbor. Pay it forward and watch and see what happens. It'll happen for you just as it happened for Ruthie and Carson and tens of thousands of other people. So on that note, Carson, thanks a lot for coming back. Thanks for being on the call as well. And I know we're going to only hear great stuff from you. And Ruthie, we can't hear much more great stuff. You're the chair of your association, getting awards. You're helping children. It looks like you'll be going for another 20 years or so.
No, I'll take 5.
Okay. All right, you two. I love you all. And folks, come back again to the next call. This one will be emailed. Any of you who do not have your email at home office, call 1-800-JC-TONIC and give your email. We'll send the email with this call on it and all the other good stuff. All righty? So there we are. Thanks again, Carson. Thanks again, Ruthie. And thanks, everybody, for being on the call. And we bid you good evening, good night. And don't forget, remember this, Carson, take an ounce and feel the bounce.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Okay,
Bye,
good night, all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Jurak Classic Whole Body Tonic is a dietary supplement, not a drug. Therefore, it is useful to affect the structure and or function of your body in various ways, but it is not intended to and will not cure, mitigate, treat, or prevent any disease. Individual testimonials may not be everyone's experience and do not constitute scientific evidence. Jurak Corporation does not make any drug or treatment claims for its product.